Greetings, YouTube. So I came up with a creature idea the other day, and I thought I'd share it here. Well, let's turn some sparkly lights on. We're doing a gaming video. Woo! Let's have some lights. Um, and this is called the Blood Buzzard, as the name of this video can tell you. And I'm gonna be basing this off the Pathfinder Vulture. Essentially, you could use call it the Blood Vulture. It doesn't matter. We're gonna use those stats for it. Um, and while I'm using these stats, I'm using them mostly so that you have numbers to play with, and we can see how my idea diverges from this to give you an idea how you want to do it. You could make it fit any genre of game. This could be a mutant in Mutant Future or Gamma World. This could be an aberration in Pathfinder, or it could be an alien creature in a science fiction like Traveler or Stars Without Number or A Thousand Suns. So this is just some guidelines to go by. It's kind of a generic discussion of what this creature is. So the creature looks like a buzzard or a vulture, depends on how you like that look. And at first glance, it looks very similar to the bird that it is based upon. Now, this could be some magical divergence from the regular. This could be an experiment by a wizard. This could be a genetic experiment. This could be a mutation. This could be again be an alien that has you could change it a little bit instead of having feathers, saying it's got light scales or something, a little more reptilian. So you make it a little bit more weird, but you use the same stats. You don't have to change much. I'm a big believer in filing the serial numbers off things and reusing them. I think it's very, very appropriate and saves you a whole lot of work, man. Saves you so much effort. Getting good at that and having to do it on the fly, and you have even more monsters at your disposal than you thought you did, and your players won't know what's coming. It's important to know that. Experienced players often have a very good idea what's in their world for opponents. So throw them some curveballs, folks. Like I said, animate those corpses with the animate dead spell. They'll think they're fighting a zombie that can't be turned. So this creature again looks initially from a distance like a vulture or a buzzard. The first thing you're going to notice is the beak. Whereas a buzzard or a vulture has a beak that opens and closes, has a hook on the end for tearing flesh, this creature has a conical beak. And if you were to cut it in half, it'd be vaguely triangular because you could tell that it had been a beak in the past or it evolved along the same lines, but it's conical and comes to an angled tip, fairly sharp, and there is a tongue, very cylindrical like an anteater that comes out the end. So that's the first thing you're going to notice. Second thing you're going to notice is thieves. At the bend of its wings, the top of the wings, it has two fingers, like this, clawed, like bird toes. And the last thing may be a little more difficult for your average person to notice unless they know something about birds and they're looking specifically at its feet. Whereas most birds have 3 toes in the front and 1 straight in the back. This one has 3 toes in the front. 3 toes and 1 that goes to the side. Fully opposable. It has hands. Now the disadvantage being they stand on them, so that makes them much more less useful than ours because we're not standing on ours. Not having a pinky is not a major issue here. Bird feet are notoriously strong. If you've ever tried to get a parrot or a raptor off your arm when they don't want to be off your arm, you'll know what I mean. And the other thing that you'll notice if you're observant is that they're smarter than your average bird. If a bird has an intelligence of 2 in the Pathfinder scale of 3 to 18, 2 being animal, these creatures have a 6. They're fully sapient, not smart, but fully sapient. And they don't use a lot of manufactured tools or weapons. But maybe that's because they're newly intelligent. Maybe they're new to this thing. Because they're very good at emulating. If you teach one of these things how to do flint knap, they'll flint knap, but they haven't developed themselves. They'll use weapons they find or take off of people. They particularly like things they can drop. So weapons they can drop or use swinging are very helpful. They naturally make some weapons or just use natural materials such as rocks. often picking two small rocks, well, not small, about yay big rocks, which they then drop from the air. Sometimes in the bottom of a swoop, that's going to do a fair amount of damage. They also will take branches that have thick branches, that have smaller branches coming off them, and they'll sharpen them and drop those. So effectively, they're acting like a morning star, doing blunt and piercing damage at the same time. And sometimes they'll use larger ones that they pick up with two hands when they fly, and either swing and drop them or just drop them down, and that functions as a morning star of one size category larger. These things are small in size naturally. So they'll use tools and they'll modify things they find in nature, but they haven't made the next leap of combining complex things together. But if shown, they will. They have not naturally discovered fire, but if shown how to create it, they will be able to do so. So they're adaptable. And lastly, they don't talk. In fact, they can't make any vocal sounds at all. However, they do have a slight compensation. They're all telepaths. Very short range, like 30 feet. And they have to like establish it, that connection. Now, you probably use something from the telepathy spell I think there is. It'll tell you how to establish a connection, things like that. You could figure it out, okay? Whatever system you're using. But once they establish a connection, they can talk to people, to their compatriots, and to other beings that are also sapient. Though their language is somewhat primitive, there's a lot of images, there aren't a lot of complex words and syntax, but they can be trained to have a more proper and more understandable mental language if someone takes the time. They hunt. They do go after carrion, but they want very fresh because they're going after the blood. They pierce the sides and lick it out, sucking it out. So they want the freshest they can get. They have no use for the hides, and if shown how to skin, they'd be able to do that. So you could have a trade going there. Though the way they hunt, dropping rocks or spears or little morningstar branches, the hides are going to probably be somewhat damaged. Though you could probably also train them how to make natural traps and snares using materials that they can find in nature. You could probably teach them how to make twine and cordage. They're smart enough to do that. They have a 6 intelligence. And they are capable of doing mechanical things as well as anyone else who is of low intelligence. They're not great abstract thinkers. But let's face it, at 6 intelligence, most people aren't. It isn't necessarily endemic to them. So I thought it would be a nice curveball to throw at a party to see a flock of these hunting and not knowing what they were, or find one feeding and think it's just an ordinary animal, maybe a little weird one, and they discover that it isn't. And there's a possibility that they could be that they've collected things over the years that intrigue them and they don't necessarily know the value of. Does the party cheat them? Does the party treat them fairly? Are they capable of figuring out they're being screwed? Because, one second, let me check where their stats. Here we go. No. There we go. So they have a wisdom of 13. So that gives them a +1 if they're going to be making a judgment call about whether someone's sense motive, somebody's screwing with them, even if they don't have any skill points in that. So they might be able to tell you're messing with them. But if you're honest with them, they could also tell that. So this is just an idea here. I've thrown this out. There's no deep depth, other depth to this. This is just an idea that popped into my head. I was at work working on a part, and the part vaguely looked like the head of a bird with a kind of a bent neck and a pointy beak. And it also looked vaguely like 1950s Buck Rogers ray gun. So it was at least entertaining to look at. Not fun to run, but entertaining to look at. So there you go. These are the blood vultures or the blood buzzards, whichever you prefer. I think that they both kind of have a certain vibe to them, and the look is slightly different. So being slightly different settings if you want. And again, you can make them reptilian if you wanted to for something less avian, less recognizable to the party. I apologize if that sound in the background was annoying. It was my battery charger for my drill. So there you go, folks. This has been just an idea video, a creature that hopefully you can use. And let's have a discussion. What would you do with these creatures? How would you use them? Would you change them? And how many creatures have you used by filing off the serial numbers, changing things a little bit, and throwing them at your party and really confusing the heck out of them?